G'day guys, and welcome to another Phil and Jen in the Philippines. As usual, subscribe, ring the notifications, share with people that you think this may be interested or an interest to. Okay, today's vlog is simply about my thoughts in regard to this vlog, the vlog that I'm doing at the moment. When I started this vlog, I thought it'd be a lot of fun. I might be able to impart some knowledge to people that I have gleaned since I've been in the Philippines, and it was supposed to be a little bit of information, possibly a source of revenue, I thought, in the long run. But I soon came to realize that I'm not of the personality that can just continue something on a never-ending basis simply for the sake of a continuance. I, like everybody else, over here, I'm active on the internet and YouTube, and I look at other vloggers and see their content and see what I can glean from it and how I can expand on that content. But the funny thing about it, when you have a vlog, you don't realize where the vlog's going until it actually physically happens. You don't realize that you're having an impression on people all over the world, and you live in, everybody lives in a bubble until it's pointed out to them that things are going on outside that bubble. And unless you've got an avenue for that information, like a vlog is, you never really get to assess the rest of the world or something that's outside your sphere of influence. So bear with me. I just want to basically give you the direction of this particular vlog for however long it lasts. And the vlog will possibly finish when I don't think, one, people are interested in what I've got to say, or I don't have anything that I think could be of benefit to people by saying it. Even now, and that's probably the reason why I've vlogged so much in such a short period of time, and why it's not scripted, and why I'll do it when I can and where I can, and the quality isn't all that good, because I never really wanted to get involved in a shiny vlogs situation. I thought what I had to say was probably more important. But anyway, getting back to my viewers. Now, what you can appreciate if you've read a lot of the comment from the viewers, which I make public, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't usually, unless it's very offensive towards people, eliminate comments. I let them fall. Whether I agree with them or not is another thing. And you get basically the same feedback as far as comments are concerned that I get myself. And you can make up your mind which of those comments you think are important, or whether it's fluff and bubble, or whatever. But secondarily, I get contacted by a lot of people these days because of this vlog, asking particular questions and outlining problems and asking for assistance and whatever. And I'll assist as much as I possibly can. Well, that's the first thing. The second thing I've come to realize through the comments and through correspondence of a private nature from my audience or from people that have come across the vlog, that it doesn't matter what I say. People will still do exactly what they want to do, and you can pre-warn them all you want. They have something set in their minds and they usually carry it out, and my influence is not going to either stop or hinder them in any way. But the unfortunate thing, my assessment of a lot of these comments, simply by being here, is that the majority of you guys make a decision to come to a foreign country, in this particular case the Philippines, but I think it holds true for other countries that they may be looking at, being totally unprepared of the realities that they're going to face. They are influenced by people such as other vloggers, and myself to a certain degree, but by all the good things. They don't want to hear, they want people to reinforce the decisions they've already made up their mind on, that they're going to do this. And they immediately eliminate anything negative, or they put up an argument that reinforces their own ideas. And that's good, that's debate, that's fine, doesn't affect me. But what I've come to realize is through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments and contacts through this vlog, how underprepared and sometimes naive people are. And it's a horrible thing to say, but a lot of you guys will not succeed here simply because you have unrealistic expectations. The reasons you come to countries like the Philippines, you make excuses as to the she'll be right attitude, or you're not coming here for the right reasons, or the reasons you think you can overcome, you just can't do it. A lot of the guys watching me at the moment are indecisive about whether or not they'll pursue this path, and whether it be the Philippines or South America or Mexico or whatever, or wherever they're looking, and they're looking for reinforcement. And a lot of the vloggers play into that. You're not going to have a channel that lasts too long and provide you with an income if you're negative. So consciously or subconsciously, a lot of them tell you the rosy, wonderful things and show you the sights and reinforce in your mind why you should do it, rather than turning around and saying, assess it correctly. You know, the unfortunate thing is, when you get to my age and a lot of your ages, mistakes, you don't have the luxury of time to correct a mistake. And if you make that mistake, the youth, the health and everything, so you can correct it in the long run, if you make the wrong decision, you soon dig yourself a hole you can't get out of, whether it be financially, and financially is probably the biggest one, and you end up in a country like the Philippines, bitter and twisted and hateful and unhappy. You know, it doesn't matter how good, bad or indifferent, whatever country you adopt, because the reasons you came here were wrong in the first place. You get a percentage of the guys that come over here and are influenced by people they meet online, girlfriends and this type of thing. And of course, they're selling a product, the product being themselves. And they want to get out of this situation. They're sick of poverty. They may not want to come to your country of origin, but they want someone to be the white knight and come along and give them better lives. And of course, they'll tell you anything you want to hear. That's human nature. You know, the mere fact that I turn around and give you the negatives to a lot of things puts a lot of people off. They'll come and they will subscribe to the vlog, see a couple of things, think to themselves, this guy's negative and I don't want to do it anymore, and then unsubscribe. That's fine. That's what it's there for. You know, it's the same with the girls here. If you believe you're going to come here and live happily ever after, and it's going to be a cheap place to live, and it's going to be this utopian environment, and if it's not, you can make it that way. Not all, but the majority of times, if you don't adapt and you're happy with your adaptation, it's going to fail. You know, my advice, for what it's worth, is the influence of a third party or a secondary party, being a girlfriend and whatever. If that's the driving force and you think you're in love, for you uprooting your life that may or may not be all that good, and come to this country and seek a new adventure and pour money into it, and then at a later date, when the shine of the move is worn off, you realise that this wasn't what you expected, and the difficulties involved in doing something like this are greater than you ever expected, you have a problem. You're not 25 or 35 anymore. You can't uproot and go back. You know, or it takes a great deal of courage to go back. And the realization that possibly the retirement you thought you'd have and the easy life you thought you'd have has dissipated, and you'll probably have to work for the rest of your life. A lot of men haven't got the courage to go back and face this. So they sit here miserable. And they make life miserable for everybody around them because misery loves company. All I'm saying is you must assess the reasons you're doing this. And it can't be just a reflection on your life. The majority of us are reliant on our government supporting us in our old age, whether it be Social Security, and we frame our lives around that. So we're taking a chance that our governments will continue to fund us in our own old age. It doesn't matter where we are, because we believe we've done the right thing and we've paid our taxes and we've done all the correct things, and now it's our time to sit back and relax. But the reality is we're reliant on a government across the other side of the world and things going right. Now, everyone knows, simply through the media, that the world is facing an economic situation, whether you believe it or not, and all you've got to do is stick your head out the window to see for yourselves, an economic situation like we've never known in our lifetimes. It's a slowly creeping cancer of deterioration. And if you're a student of history and you go back to when similar things occurred, now in Australia and in the United States, we've experienced what's about to happen to some degree when the oil shortage was on, when the interest rates in Australia just went ballistic. And for a period of 2 years or so, it was difficult. People lost their homes, they lost their jobs. Social securities were cut down. Now, in my opinion, the West's economic situation is a bit of a basket case at the moment. The political situation in the West is a basket case. Cryptocurrencies are going down the drain. Stock markets are fluctuating like we've never seen in years, and it all doesn't bode well for the future. And the first thing that governments do is retract and cut down on social services. And the unfortunate thing, when you come to a third world country like the Philippines is reliant on overseas aid, as with most third world countries. And things like overseas aid dries up. They're still affected. They're still going to get their petrol from somewhere. They're still going to get their goods from somewhere. And prices go through the roof. And unfortunately, because we're dependent on Social Security, if these prices go through the roof for the basic materials in life, our Social Security, our pensions do not historically keep pace with those increases. And you're a long way from home. And it'll always be home. And the other pressures that you must take into consideration is very few of us will leave nobody behind. We have sons, we have daughters. I don't know about the relationships you have with them, but they're still sons and daughters and aunts and uncles and whatever. Very few of us will be alone completely. And those lives that go on have a direct effect on decisions you don't even know you're about to make. There'll be illnesses over there, there'll be deaths, there'll be innumerable things that'll occur that'll keep dragging you back. There'll be problems with banks. There'll be situations you can't foresee that will have you returning to your country of origin if you have left family behind. And you must be in a position to be able to expend money and return for whatever reason, whether it even be a stuff up with your own pensions. A lot of you keep asking for budgets, how much it's going to cost. The mere fact you're asking for a budget, in one respect, is an indication that you're underfunded. And as things go up as they have in the last 12 or 18 months here, or 2 years or 3 years. I can remember coming here and paying 27, 37 pesos per litre for fuel. And now we're paying 81, 82 in a relatively short period of time. Now my income, because I don't work here, hasn't gone up. It's just been a constant drain. We can't avoid what's about to happen with the world. The other thing about being cheap, yes, it may be cheap rent. It may be cheap, and you can put up with this and you can put up with that, and reduce the level of your lifestyle. But the thing about it is, to make a place like this livable on the long term, because we've been conditioned to a certain level, costs money. As soon as you get involved in anything, a business dealing, a legal, and we're not talking criminal, we're just talking a legal matter, the prices are huge. You get involved in medical here, the prices are huge to get rid. You know, all these things. What you miss out in one thing, what you think in the short term is cheap, becomes expensive. Especially if you're not or don't have the ability to top up your money. So it's a well-known fact that your pensions, your set amount of money over a period of time normally don't keep step with inflation. So you're getting a little bit weaker each year financially if that's all you're relying on. Let alone what's about to happen in our countries of origin. And if you're in the US, you know, the influence the US market has on the rest of the world is just incredible. There's an old saying, if the US sneezes, the rest of the world gets a cold. And at the moment, the US economy and the US political system is in disarray. So keep that in mind. Also, dispel the thought that it's cheap to set up in another country unless you're doing it on a semi-permanent basis. If you think I'm going to spend the next 5 or 10 years in the Philippines and then I'm coming home, make allowances for your homecoming now before you leave. You know, don't expect to get to your last dollar and then turn around and be stranded and think, whoops, it's time to go home. You know, the girlfriend's left me. I can't hold down a relationship. My health is failing. You know, I'm getting older.
Maybe you cut that one, huh?
Yeah, I will. Well, as you could see, the wife interrupted and I've now resumed what I was saying. One of the things, and I can't remember, and I haven't reviewed what I just said beforehand, but a thought that came to me intermittently was a lot of you guys don't realise that even if you pick a girlfriend here and come over, the can of worms opens up that you don't even know about. Even though the girl may say to you she has no interest in coming to your place of origin, and you come out and you expect fully to retire here, there will be, in the majority of cases, pressure for you to return and take her to your home country, because everyone, perceives the West to be this wonderful place, a land of milk and honey and opportunity. And you will get continuous pressure, which will put pressure on your relationship. A lot of guys don't realise that they'll be involved with women that they fall in love with, that they think this is the one for them, and they will come with a hell of a lot of baggage, whether it be children they haven't mentioned, but you'll soon find out. And in many cases, I've had correspondence from expats that have had long-term relationships with women on the internet due to COVID, fallen in love, decided to come here, and then wham bam, out of the blue, P.S. by the way, this is my daughter, my son, or whatever. That didn't happen in my particular case. I always knew Jen had children, but it happens time and time again here. Or P.S., by the way, I told you I'm single. Well, I am technically single, but I was married at 19 or 20. My husband is now out of the picture, but that causes an immense amount of problems, legal problems, that if you wish to continue with the relationship, you're going to have to rectify, and it's costly to rectify. Ask anyone regarding annulments in this country. Not only it is a long process, it's expensive, and there's no guarantee that the outcome will be positive. The majority of time, with enough money, the outcome is positive, but it doesn't cut down on the amount of time and money you have to invest to get that outcome. And we're not talking a few $100s, we're talking thousands in some cases. You know, even because remember, when you come over here and you're involved with someone that has been married, even though the guy's out of the picture, don't be surprised that you have to pay an amount of money for his cooperation, even in the annulment, or to take your wife or girlfriend, out of the country just to take her home for a visit, or for her to take the children. These are all things no one ever talks about, but continues to have an effect on the expat. And unfortunately, we come over here, we've fallen hook, line and sinker for these ladies, and we get involved, we start the process, and because it takes 2 or 3 years for it, you know, it's just an endless drain on your pocket. So if you're coming to a place like this, that's why I advise, don't get too involved online. Don't make promises and commitments, doesn't matter how you feel, until you're here. Because inevitably, when you get here, very few relationships built online are 100% as they seem. Anyway, just further news, and in reference to probably why I'm making this vlog. I too have family at home, and I too have responsibilities to that family. And what's occurred, which I won't go into, is I now have to return to Australia for an indeterminate period of time. Now I'll continue vlogging, because most of my vlogs are information anyway. And if the style of this particular vlog changes, as an example, Jen and I are now considering, because I may be stuck in Australia for a long period of time, returning for a greater period than a month or two, and possibly staying a number of years in Australia. And of course, Jen has never been to Australia, and therefore she wants to go. And I'm certainly not leaving my family here in the Philippines to become yet another long distance relationship. We haven't made our minds up in relation to that. And again, that opens a huge financial void which must be filled if I'm to get my wife and my kids into my country of origin for however long it be. So these are some of the things that I want you to consider before taking the monumental step of thinking it's all roses and I'm going to live happily ever after in the Philippines or in Vietnam or in Thailand or whatever. You can't just cross a bridge and burn it behind you. It doesn't work that way. You are an alien in a foreign country. 9 times out of 10 you don't speak the language, or if you do, you speak it badly. And if push comes to shove in that country, you are still considered, whether it be wealthy or not, a second-class citizen. So take all that into consideration with the political outlook of the rest of the world before you make such a huge decision. For those of you in the United States, and because you've supported this channel to such a degree, look closer to home. And when I say that, it may be South America, I know, and it may be Central America, I know it has its problems as well, it may be Mexico. If you are determined to leave your country, You know, it's an expensive trip to the Philippines, and it becomes more and more expensive if you've got to return home. Now, again, I am not anti the Philippines, but I believe, to be truthful and to be honest to expats that really don't know shit from clay when it comes to actually doing this type of thing, it wouldn't be honest of me to paint a picture that is just, as I consider it to be, false and too over-optimistic. I think I've said enough as far as this vlog's concerned. Comment. I'll probably get a lot of negative comments about it, but think about what I said. It's just not a matter of packing up and going on a permanent basis. Do not invest too much into this country. Stop buying land, even if you're married to a fellow that in your place of origin and she's been there for 10 or 15 or 20 years. Stop it. Come over. See how the land lies. You know, I had a viewer that has had diabolical trouble in purchasing land here from afar. He will succeed and he'll get that land eventually, but it's going to cost him so much money and so much legal entanglement to get that land that he can then, I presume, build on and retire here and whatever. Stop that habit. Do not take your loved ones, whether you're married to them or not, word on anything until you're 100% satisfied within yourself. Because the reality is, you are the breadwinner. And when shit hits the fan financially, it's going to splatter all over you. That's all I've got to say as far as this vlog's concerned. I'll be leaving for Australia in approximately a week. I'll continue to vlog in the meantime. I will keep you up to date, but as you're aware, I have been vlogging almost every day to get the message across to you people. I will continue to do so as time goes on, and I will inform you of Jen and I's decision with the family as to our immediate future. Obviously, the good thing about vlogging is it doesn't stop me shooting my mouth off and giving my opinions, even if I'm in a foreign country. But thank you once again, my subscribers. I hope that I can continue this and I'm of some use and benefit to the people out there. And I look forward to seeing you in my next half a dozen or so vlogs before I leave. There will be a period of time I won't be vlogging for obvious reasons. Hopefully it's probably only a week, so bear with me. And I'll keep you all up to date. So, Phil and Jen in the Philippines, subscribe if you would. Ring the notifications, thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next vlog. Cheers.